They're jacked with Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the bow early on. Like I love getting close and putting up.
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like
We call this the THP World Headquarters.
You know, my grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bulls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast?
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
Things good.
Good. How's the shoot?
Oh, not very good. Fun. It was. I've been to a lot of different shoots, and I know for the longest time I always said our shoot was one of my favorite. You know, it's hard to sound unbiased when it's your own, but we got so many fun things at ours. Man, with the topography that Kamloops has there, I hate to say it, but they might be my new favorite. They have a wicked setup. You know, it's all deserty and everything, Badlands.
Yeah.
Lots of elevation to work with if they choose. So some was great that way. Other times it was wind. It wasn't even like crazy wind.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's just say that the advantage of my slightly bigger bow and my slightly bigger arrows were only an advantage when the wind wasn't blowing in the afternoon. It was a pain in the ass, to say the least, to try to stabilize that thing. And that has nothing to do with my results. My results is because I had a really bad weekend. I had 2 bad rounds. I had one really good. I had a normal round in there too. But fantastic setup. Like, props to the Kamloops bowbenders. They did a great job. Amazing event. Well done. Would highly recommend it to everybody.
What was going on? What happened?
With me?
Yeah, just in your head, or?
No, I just think it was one of those off days.
Mm-hmm.
And well, both morning, because I shot good. A little bit of rust in the morning because it's my first 3D shoot. You know, it's kind of it's different than shooting blocks and little dots and stuff like that. I know it sounds silly, but until you're out doing 3D with the wind, shadows, and you know,
seeing rings is difficult for me. Like,
yeah,
trying to like visualize in your head. You look at it with your binoculars, but actually seeing it with your naked eye, like an actual point of aim, that could be kind of tricky.
Yeah, so there was lots of good fresh like they had lots of new targets. They didn't have any old, like, hard to see targets that way. Sometimes the lighting might not have been good, but that's the part of 3D that makes it fun. It's, you see it's your binos and be like, it's somewhere in that area. I'm just gonna shoot. For me, I think honestly, besides the wind, like when conditions were good and it was just 100% me, it was just kind of my follow through wasn't feeling clean. Was the main thing. So yeah, it was just I just couldn't solidify that process from start to finish on every shot. We did great group of guys to shoot with. There's so much fun and so much trash talk. It was amazing. But we did match play for the first 2 rounds on the first day. So nobody was really keeping score. It was just whoever won that target. So you could be shooting phenomenal, but somebody, you know, ekes you out by a millimeter. Well, you lost. That's all there is to it. But I kept track of mine just because it was my first one, and I don't have a whole lot right now of 3D shoots. And it's actually my only 3D shoot until provincials, which really sucks, but it's just the way it works out. So I kept track of it more so that I'm not worried about my end score, because I always feel that if you shoot well, like just by focusing on your process, the whole 9 yards, the scores will follow. Everybody has bad days, bad rounds. What I was mainly focused on was if I had some bad shots that I knew were like me, not like wind, where it's like, whoa, that was crazy. Did you see that arrow move? But if it was me, it's like, okay, shitty shot. How did I respond when I look back at the scorecard?
Yeah. How do you come back from that? Yep.
So that's why I think my father-in-law is coming. I can dog's going crazy. Um, that's where I was actually happy, even though I haven't had low scores like that in years. Like they were two of my scores, I think 174 and 176 out of a 200 par round is basically what we call it, 20 targets. Um, and then, but the actual score is 220 because you count the 11 rings, but 200 is kind of considered par. 11s are bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
But, 174, 176, there were some bad shots. There's a bunch of fives in there. But what I did notice is every time I hit one of those fives, generally I would come back with 3 or 4 good shots. And even the ones that ended up being 8s, they were good shots. They felt good. But let's say the wind, I didn't compensate for the wind enough, and it just took my arrow just
eked it out enough to make a difference.
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those, me like, oh, well, it is what, this is a learning experience because I've never shot these big arrows in these kind of conditions.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of cool to learn. So lots of cool learning stuff there. And, Kevin shot lights out as always, but it was interesting to compare the different size arrows between the group and watching how the wind affected, like even he's got those Easton 5.0s. And it was interesting to see how those really cut through the wind. And there wasn't a lot of drag on them pushing around. But, there was times where even those little guys they were getting pushed around, which was, again, it's good to learn because that hunting scenario comes up and it's like, you better know what your equipment's going to do in those conditions. So,
yeah. What's your bow's speed and arrow weight?
Well, that one there, I didn't check the speed of that bow, the target bow, when I was there. My hunting bow, I think it was close to 270, and that's with basically 470 grain arrows in it, 70 pounds. But I've only got 28.5-inch draw length, so I'm not surprised that that's where it's sitting. Also didn't do like a whole bunch of shots. I had time because we were so busy. And the kids were challenging me to Vegas rounds as soon as we got back from the 3D shoot, which that's awesome. I mean, it's perfect. So really, I had time. I know you should shoot more than one through it, but it was just a ballpark, and it didn't really matter to me. But that's what popped up, and I was like, all right, I'm sure that's close to where it should be, is in that ballpark anyway. But the 3D bow, the Bowtech, it's only a 60-pound bow. So, and I know it's slower. I mean, I can see my arrows. So, yeah, it's not moving like the other ones. So, I think if I were to go back to that Kamloops shoot, knowing the conditions that they have, honestly, I think I would bring my Hoyt next time. Extra speed, smaller arrows. I think that would be what I would bring. Just to battle the wind. No other reason. I love both bows. So,
yeah, that's probably what was screwing you over, because I know even like my hunting setup, when I was going really heavy and going to more of an optimized, like I was at like in that 530s. I shot an arrow at 550 at one point.
Wow.
And it's getting heavy, real heavy for me at least. And the reason why I went away from that was not only the trajectory, but its performance in the wind. Was challenging, right? Because you think about it like the form factor of the arrow isn't changing.
Yeah.
Right? You're cutting it to the same length for your specifications for your bow. The only thing, it's not like a bullet where you're increasing its length as you increase its weight. Obviously, that would increase its aerodynamic efficiency for the same diameter, right? Because you're spreading the weight over it. Like the FOC thing, it can help, but I think that's more for like trajectory planing and momentum, for keeping the arrow nice and straight with also your vanes, restorative torque and all of that. But I think that air time is what's doing it. It's just being affected longer, right?
Yeah. And there's definitely shots where there was one. Did I send you the picture of that stag that was skylined?
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody who doesn't, there's this one amazing shot. Like it was awesome. It was 50 yards, beautiful. And they've got this stag and one of those big stags skylined. And I was the third shooter. I think Wyatt shot first. And we watched his arrow. He's shooting the same arrows as I am. And we watched his drift quite a bit. Good, great shot, but it drifted. Like, okay, wind's actually totally
Yeah.
different from where we're standing up to where the stag was. Kevin shot next because we saw how much his dropped and everything. Kevin was aiming at the spine of the target, and he still ended up high. So it was like, okay, it was a good, left to right for me, and then a good height from Kevin. So from Wyatt to Kevin, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put it on the outside top right at like 2 o'clock on the massive insert target, and hopefully it drifts somewhere into the 10 there. Man, it drifted so far, everybody went, and it was one of those shots that actually felt it should have been going to where I was aiming. Like I was confident, like the shot felt great, great break. And I caught it with an inch of foam left in the throat. I don't even know how it held the arrow and didn't bust through. But if that arrow missed, it's gone. It's one of those things where you don't even bother looking for it because you get
Oh,
up
yeah.
top and you see where it could
200
go.
yards into the bush.
Oh,
Yeah.
good Lord. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that was another 5 for me. And that was crazy, 100% wind. But I called that one a win because I was like, I'm going home with all my arrows.
Yeah.
At
Yeah,
that
no
point, I
kidding.
mean, it's like whatever. But yeah, another great shot there. But yeah, really, really interesting to see how that works. There's only a few shots that I was it was really that I could say, oh, that was arrow. Like that shot there was 100%. That was wind and arrow. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
There's, a couple other shots where it was just not that perfect clean break. That's all on me, but they keep adding up, especially if you start hitting fives. It's a lot of points to drop all in one shot.
hmm
There was one minor thing. It was a funny, I'd ranged, I was the first shooter and ranged it for 35 and I accidentally set my dial for 30. Perfect line. And I was like, oh, why did that end up so low? Like that best feeling shot of probably the whole weekend. I looked down and I was like, oh, 5 yards out. But we're talking like this much of a drop from 5 yards. And it was just like, and the wind was just a little bit. It wasn't howling at that point. So it was like, it wasn't that, but it was just like a culmination of a little bit of wind. But I couldn't get over how much it dropped because of, how slow the bow is in comparison to my hunting bow. But again, another learning thing being like, it's like the pin gap thing that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Really interesting to learn how unforgiving this bow can be at the same time. Great
Yeah.
for
If
some
you're
things,
shooting
not
at
for others.
a known distance indoor, right?
Yeah.
Versus utilizing that speed to make sure that you're
Oh.
hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. It was a great weekend. I would do it again for sure next year, but a year from now, it's too hard to plan. It's life gets lifey. Maybe we hit it up again next year, maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. But absolutely 100% worthwhile going to it. Hands down.
Yeah. It looked like a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a good time. And holy shit, man, Wyatt. Wow. That kid can shoot. It was something else to watch. And
Yeah.
I
I
know
just need to
Kevin
get a
might-
little bit bigger, and that's all it took.
man. And I know Kevin probably won't admit it. Kevin, if you're listening, Wyatt did beat Kevin on one of the rounds by 2 points. That's how good he was shooting. Like he shot like a 198 or something like that. And he's shooting with us. He's not shooting from other pegs or anything.
Mm-mm.
Lights out. Like, yeah, smooth as silk. It's awesome to see.
It's funny. Just a guy I work with, his son was the provincial champ, and he was like, Wyatt. And
really? Yeah.
yeah, like young guy. And Burke, I remember because I worked with Burke for 18 years, and he's a little older than me, but he's like, Derek, like I'm having to really work hard, like really try my
Yeah.
absolute best to squeak out a couple points over him.
Oh
Like
man,
he's like, I'm
hilarious.
getting at that point, and it's just like nipping at the heels, and eventually he ended up catching up with equipment, right? That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like the little kid stuff and some of the smaller bows are not they're not the best. You're
Yeah.
giving up some performance, you're giving up a little bit of forgiveness, but once you got into the big Matthews target bows,
Oof. It's
yeah,
time to
that was
shine.
the end of that. Yeah.
That's
And
hilarious.
same thing. He's like it's fun, but it's like deep down
Yeah.
inside, you're like, shit, I gotta beat him. Like
Yeah.
this is
Well,
not acceptable. I need to
I
be. She's like, I'm shooting more. I'm like, I'm buying better shit. He's like, well, when you're making your own money, better scopes, clarifiers, all
yeah,
sorts of shit.
that's
It's
awesome.
it's just it's funny seeing that transformation. But I
It's
think that
awesome.
has to do with when you're young and you grow into doing a sport, it's a lot bigger difference. You're able
Yeah.
to, physiologically even, like your strength and your muscles and how you do things. I think it makes a pretty big difference. So I'm curious to
Yeah.
see um, how he transitions to like full competitive adult, because that's the
Yes.
one thing that Joel is his name. Because I talked to him because he was on my site. He was one of my techs, say, for a while,
Yeah.
one of the contractors. And he had said, the biggest difficulty or hurdle was, you know, um, continuing to compete when you're an adult, when you got your own bills and your own life,
Yeah.
and, you know, dedicating that level of, because you don't have the same level of free time and you have all these expectations for you to get a job and or go to school and do all this whole gamut of things, and you're not shooting as much versus before. That was your greatest advantage, right? When you're younger, you
Yeah.
got a bunch of time, and then just traveling around, right? And when you're with your dad, your dad's going to make the time and the money
Yeah.
and put the energy in, right? Different phase of life, more bankroll, right? You know,
Well, not only that, being in Canada versus the States, there's more opportunity to get paid
yeah,
shooting down in the States than there is here. Like if you
yeah,
look at Team USA versus Team Canada, there's no comparison.
yeah,
Like that is your job at that point. And you look at some of these other
yeah,
countries, and in
exactly, yeah,
Canada, it doesn't sound like I can't remember what Kevin was saying that their total budget is for Archery Canada, but I think it's like $30,000. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, that
And the
doesn't go very far.
population is like nearing half for the entire population of
Yeah.
Canada does
It'll
some
be
form of archery down there. It's wild.
it is. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how Wyatt does. I mean, he's got a great mentor. He's going to learn how to tear apart bows. He's going to know everything there is to know about bows, and if something's going wrong, what it could be. He's not going to be scratching his head. He's already going to have an idea what it could be by that point. So it's good. It's pretty awesome to see. I'll only tell people about, I'll tell them the story about when I used to beat him when he's something. I just won't tell him that, yeah, he's 12.
Yeah, yeah,
Not when he was
yeah.
13, when he
Oh
was
man,
12.
when you get that mature mental focus too, because I know I even see it in the boys, like my kids, just with sports and just that level of maturity,
Awesome.
intensifying everything. Like boys did competitive judo for a long time, and um, you see that competitive grit because they've been
Yes.
hurt before. They've had people hurt them, and they have to hurt them worse
Yeah.
and throw them harder and put them down and take that motivation from them. And then seeing that later on in life in other sports, you can see like they know what pain is and how to beat people competitively. It's all mental, right? It's
Yeah.
going through that checklist of like, yeah, no, I've made my dues by putting in the training. That's the pain, right? It's
Yeah.
just making sure that when you show up, you're prepared, right? And that can be hard.
Oh yeah. But
You
it's
never
good
really
to
know
see
if you're
when they
ready.
pick it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's, as a parent, you love to watch that. Be like, well, we're gonna see what happens here.
yeah,
And you see it, you know what they're capable of. But at the end of the day, it's in their hands to see what they do with everything that they've learned or the drive that they've got. And it's
yeah,
like, let your wings fly, or, like, and just go. So that's what I enjoy as a parent. I want all my kids to do better than what I've done. So I try to set that standard high. Same thing, be like, that's right. Now it's your job to beat me. Now I'm going to be
yeah,
happier than a pig in shit when you do, because that just means your level is up here, whether it's in life,
yeah,
sports, whatever. Don't care. Just do better than me.
yeah.
So that's good. So what else you been working on? I know you've been a busy bee.
Oh, yeah. It's it has been busy. Trying to sneak in arrows whenever I can. Trying to, well, I got a lot of things going on at once. I had haven't finished that build that with that barrel yet. That's kind
Yeah.
of I put all that on the back burner. Um, I'll likely draw for moose, so I got to get my
Okay.
shit together here. I was looking at the stats here, the historical. It's looking like I could get 60% chance here.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, um,
And is that archery or rifle?
that'd be archery. Yep.
Archery. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
I kind
So
of figured.
trying, trying. So just doing what I need to get ready for that bear hunt here. Run out
Yeah.
of time, but typical fashion.
Oh man.
So I built a bunch of arrows. I'm gonna alter them too. I got the 4 Super Sabers on a wrap. My weight is a little off. It's a little high.
Where are you at again? You like the
Four,
460-ish, right?
yeah, I'm 465. I think I'm gonna trim the wrap a little shorter. It's a 7 inch. I'm gonna bring it down, I think, to 4 inches on the dot. Cut them down, and then I did 4 fletch just to see what the arrow flight is with
Yeah.
broadheads. I'm just curious. I've never shot 4 fletch. It's not something that typically I do. 4 fletch, 2 degree offset helical to the right.
Yeah.
And the wraps is just solely to, I think, well, my eyes, like some people, they like pink or red, or I don't, it's all yellows and greens for me. I can see that really well. But just for the areas that I've been hunting, green was harder this year. It was hard to see.
Is that because of where you were or
Yeah,
because you're getting older?
a little bit of both.
Okay.
But yellow, I find in low light, I can see really well.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of switching over from like that lime green to yellow. And
Yeah.
that's strictly what it is. It's just so I can see my arrow after I hit something, right?
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I'm gonna shoot around Robin, see how they perform. I'm gonna put some broadheads on it. It's like cut on contact broadheads. And the same thing as you, like do a little bit of broadhead tuning, 60, and then I'm gonna shoot them at 100 yards and
Okay.
see what happens. So, we were talking about this earlier today, just that process and how you really need to figure out and reduce the environmental impacts on what you're doing. That's something that I've noticed in the past where like you were doing some broadhead tuning and you were good out to 50, and then you're starting to see some issues at 60 and beyond. And I've had that too before where I felt like I was kind of chasing my tail a little bit, where I'm doing a micro adjustment on my rest, very, very minimal, because I was always having a left impact with cut on contact, and my field points and mechanicals would always be right in that zone. And I'm looking at my tune, I'm looking at my arrow down my cam, shot the paper, no issues. But it was still plain left sometimes, right? Or plain off. And what I found is I had this cut. and this is the thing, right? So I have special knowledge. I have charts about this. At work, I get like we have a supercomputer, like one of the fifth most powerful computers in the world that does like analysis of wind, uh, direction, analytics, intensity, all of that data. So I have access to that information. And in my area, a southwest west wind is 90% of the wind. So 90% of the time, I'm encountering the same wind and wind direction, and whether it's a variance of the speed doesn't matter. But it's a southwest wind. Well, guess what southwest wind does? Hits
To
left.
the left. Yeah.
Hits left, right? And that tune issue as well, it would intensify that.
Yep.
So, whether I had a little bit of movement that I needed to do, and I put a new string on my bow, shoot, and I'd have that it's planing left. Okay. 40 yards, 50 yards, do my broadhead tuning, bring it in, do a micro adjustment on my rest, bring it in. It's right in the zone. Start shooting a little bit farther, and it starts drifting. Now, what I've done to try and figure out what's going on there is when I'm walking and picking up my arrows, I have a little wind checker, and I'm constantly checking that because I found that when I was shooting in a sheltered area, I'm not getting that feedback of the wind on my face or that like, oh, that's a gust. Like when it's really intense, yeah, but that small amount, and I am hitting a little bit left because I'm a little bit out on my tune for my broadhead tuning, and I would plane left even worse, right?
Gotcha.
Because the wind was increasing that hesitation back to that center point when it's pitching off a little bit. And that's what I've done is like, if I'm at 60 and I'm hitting left, I'm checking with a wind checker, seeing what's going on and making damn sure that I'm not having some wind affect my tuning process. And then I'll shoot out at 100 to confirm. Because to me, like, oddly enough, I can, and you can probably attest this, I can probably shoot comparatively well at 100 yards versus 70 or 60 because my limitation for me personally is my eyes.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily my shooting or even like my shot process or anything like that. It's my eyes. I don't like hunting with glasses, and I'm on that zone where I kind of need them. It makes it very crispy at 100, but that dot's kind of blurry anyway at 100, right? Versus 60, it's like it's the same to me, right? Like I'm still just putting it on a dot. So that's that for me. Like I'll have groups sometimes, and it makes no sense to me that are roughly the same size at 70, 60, 70, and then I'll shoot another tight group at 100, and it's relatively similar. But what it does for you is it does two things I found, especially with like anything other than mechanicals. Like if it's a big single bevel or even the micro Hades has this effect. You need to tune for like tune your rest, but also move your tape for your 100-yard. If you're going to shoot cut and contact broadheads solely for hunting, you need to factor that in for your drag effect as well. Because I notice at 100 yards, whatever my tune is, I'll really notice it. It'll be off to the left or the right or wherever, but then it'll also be low because of that additional drag. The micro Hades are probably the best, though, that I've seen personally, the 3 blades for arrow flight. They're incredible. Like I can shoot them pretty much as well as field points, but like you say, there's those additional steps when you're tuning and then double checking at 100, just as like a sanity check, and shoot them with broadheads, because if they're grouped together, then you damn well know that arrow flight is compared. It can compare to what you're seeing at 60 or 70 for your tune.
Well, I am thinking about, like, I shoot the 4 blade from Grim Reaper, which is just the Hades.
Yep.
And I'm going to Calgary this upcoming weekend. I need to get another pack of fixed blades because I got enough mechanicals. And I have been considering just getting a pack of those to compare them side by side and see how they fly. And the other thing I want to compare is like we were talking, like I was broadhead tuning the other night. It's bang on with fixed blades, and field point is in, excuse me, an acceptable. It's within an inch. I'm not. It doesn't bother me, even if they're hitting the same spot every time. I'm only shooting that bow for hunting. I don't care what field points do, but I know that the tune's good at least out to that distance. But what I want to check on is we're shooting these new Super Saber vanes for the first time. I don't have any experience with how they steer these four blade broadheads. I've always been a four fletch person, so I know what my old arrows would do or my old setup with the big Max Hunter vanes. So it'll be interesting to, before I change or build a couple arrows next week, I'm not going to change anything for our hunt. The bow is shooting great for that. We're only shooting probably 30 yards max anyway. I'm perfect out to, and when I say I'm off a little bit at 60, I'm talking about I'm griping at 2 inches.
Yeah.
I just know it should be hitting middle, and I can see it planing left or right 2 inches. So we're talking minor stuff. I'm not worried about it for this hunt. We're shooting out of tree stands. But when I get back, I want to experiment between shooting the 3-blade micro Hades, if I get a pack of those, with the exact same setup as the 4-blade, see if there's any planing at all, just as a total experiment. And then I'll build a couple arrows, exact same, except with a 4-fletch in the back, just to literally watch arrow flight. Because that's the only way you're going to know. Because there's always people that'll tell you 3-vane is the way to go. You'll have other people, they swear by 4-vane. Well, the best way to know, put them on identical arrows, shoot.
Yeah.
And find out, especially once you know your bow is tuned good, all that kind of stuff. You're on a level playing field. Just pull the other arrow out, take pictures, do a couple measurements, have a buddy stand behind you, because sometimes I don't catch the vanes until it's farther down, but the person behind you is able to watch the whole flight because they're not focused on the target. They're literally watching, and if they go, oh no, it was planing from the get-go, it just didn't show. Well, okay, then you got some other stuff there. So yeah, I am kind of looking forward to that comparison. I do like the flight of those Super Sabers. They're quiet. Like, I've noticed a difference, but I mean, I am comparing them to the Max Hunters I had too.
Which are loud as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man,
but they're loud because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is restoring the torque of the arrow, right? And spinning it up. There is something weird with that too, though. Like going from 3 to 4, I've always been told, and this is my dad's friend was a high level target, like national champion for indoor and outdoor, unlimited. And he had said, if you're having tuning issues, or say like you're having some sort of arrow flight problem with your broadheads, then do a 4-fletch. Then try that. A lot of guys will just say run a 4-fletch and be done with it, right? Yeah. But he had said that's the only time he would is if he was having some issue, because it's not every bow, not every arrow setup is going to have the same issues, right? So he had said, four vanes, if you're seeing something that you don't like, and see if it cleans up the arrow flight.
Yeah.
Other than that, 3 is fine.
Well, that's fair enough.
Right. Or if you have clearance problems, right?
Yeah.
But that's just it. That was the only reason, because otherwise you're giving up a little bit of speed. You are getting noisy. Like, I think I had watched a test, and it was Super Sabers. It was like 53 decibels versus 4 vanes was 56.
Yeah.
So that actually is a significant change, right?
Yeah.
But again, you could try 4, but
I say start with the minimum that you need. Watch it. It doesn't take much to build a couple arrows, because especially if you got them and your weight's all the same. It's just a matter of fletching up a couple at 4. See what they do. If they do better, okay, well now contemplate it. See if there's anything, but check your bow first. Like, there was another thing I did. I'm not changing anything yet because there's a couple things. I've been shooting this bow a lot lately since just leading up to this. So I've been finally putting the reps on this new, because it's a new string. So everything's settled, everything's breaking in. So I checked it when I came home from broadhead tuning, and I had to put half a twist into my bottom cam. Things weren't perfect or anything like that. And I'm not blaming it on that, but it's like, okay, now next time I go out, I've just checked this thing. I know it's 100%. Everything's hitting the way I like. The other thing that I think people should watch is I was experimenting with going to a single soft knock set there.
Yep.
And it kind of changes the angle of your D loop and the way it goes. But the one thing that you have to be aware of is if that D loop slides down a little bit. And I know it shouldn't.
Yeah, and pinch it.
But sometimes they do work their way down and they pinch a bit. And I was finding I had it set perfect when I started, but by the time I was done shooting with it, I did find it wasn't quite pinching, but I'm not going to say that it wasn't pinching, because it had a little less slack in there than what I started with. And it's like, okay, now if we're getting some knock pinch issues, that's going to throw that broadhead off, because it's not flying out of there the way that it should. So it's like, eliminate those things, the simple things, eliminate the simple things, then start worrying about 4 fletch and 3 fletch and that. Make sure the mechanics are good. Make sure you're shooting. Make sure you feel like you're having a good shooting night to boot. I don't just go and start throwing broadheads when I'm broadhead tuning right when I get to the range. I'll shoot 10, 15 arrows just to get warmed up, get the motion going, be like, all right, we got nice clean breaks. It's a good night to do this, and then do it. Because everybody has those off nights, and that's not a night that I want to be doing my micro tuning. Yeah. It's like, things got to feel good. Nor do I want to
make sure you got the reps in and you have the strength, because that's the thing. Like, I have found, like, you can almost shoot yourself out, where your best shots, you're now getting into fatigue because you're shooting and shooting and shooting and moving and moving and shooting, and you're getting to, plus 100, 200 shots, and you're getting into that 100 to 150. If you're shooting high poundage, you can start to get burnt out, and then you're not as steady holding, and you're creeping out of your valley a little bit. You're starting to slouch. You're getting tired. Your form is lacking, and then you're going to be pissed off, because then you're introducing problems, and it almost gets to the point where you got to just stop and just put it off and do it the next day.
And I bet you the average person, across the board, working stiff, probably honestly is only going to get maybe 30 good shots, maybe 40 good shots. Because most people don't either have access to a facility, a field, or an area where they can shoot every day. That's just life. Some of us are lucky we get access and we can shoot, every day or every other day and something like that. But some people can't. They just,
especially with how the daylight's been, like, it's just starting to get nice and daylight. The last couple of weeks, it was raining, and it was, kind of shitty out until this last month. It's just been actually getting nice enough to be shooting outside where it's not howling wind.
Yeah.
And 5 a.m. there's light out starting to creep out. So, you can actually get some good shooting conditions where you can see everything. You got good shadow on your peep, where you're confident in everything that you're doing. Like, I had finished my sight in, but again, the wind started picking up at the very end, where I'm like, for the love of God, I'm moving my sight and I'm chasing my tail, because now I'm like, I was hitting right, and then I'm hitting left. I'm like, oh, and then the wind's picking up, and you're like, just got to stop.
Yeah.
Stop doing
fixing mistakes that don't need to be fixed, potentially, which are the worst.
Yeah.
Because then you get back on a nice calm day and you're like, moving it right back to where it was. I shouldn't have moved it in the first place. But play with what you got. But I always say, try make sure the simple things that we take for granted are 100% before you start dicking around with the rest of the stuff. Because
like changing and checking your felt.
yeah,
That's one thing on your rest. Like, it's a wearable part.
yeah. And even if you got those whale tails and stuff, depending on what kind of rest you're running, like even last year, I had to change my whale tail out on my Hamsky Trinity because it was the plastic one that it came with.
Yeah.
And it had felt, but when I took that off, I could see it was actually wearing a tiny bit funny because it was slightly out of tune. And it took all those reps and it slowly wore.
Yeah, so then
just
it's off
slightly
center
off.
to
Yeah.
I've seen that as well.
And now you've even once you fix it, now you've created a wear mark that's not dead center anymore.
Yeah.
So I changed it over to I can't remember what the replacement blade was made out of, but it's definitely way stronger. And now I have access to tuning tools and everything, so there's no excuse for it to ever be off. But for people who don't have it, and it's periods of time before they can get to a Bowtech or anything like that, paying attention to those little things, because if you are getting wear on those whale tails or any rest that you can see physical stuff, get it fixed up sooner than later, because something's off. It shouldn't wear funny. It should wear down the middle if it's going to wear anything at all.
When you put your string on, your new one, did your valley feel a little jumpy?
It felt like there was some extra poundage in there. I didn't know what to think about it.
Yeah.
But it had been a bit. Yeah, no, it felt like it had some more speed to it. So I don't know if there was. I set it to spec. Like my ATA and my brace height, all that stuff it's at spec.
Yeah.
But it did feel a little quicker. And even the other night, I know I've been shooting my target bow too at the range with the group out there. And I brought the hunting bow out the other night. They just didn't notice. And as soon as I shot one, they all kind of stopped and looked at me like, what are you shooting? Because the impact was just like whack.
Yeah.
Like instantly they could tell the difference. And I was like, I don't know. But I'm still using the same sight tape as before.
Yeah, that's me too, right? Like it's very similar. It's like damn near bang on, but my valley is really short now. Yeah, like comparable to my turbo.
And everything and everything's set to spec.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I slouch it all. It's like it's ready to go. First before I could like fall asleep in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think about that, but
I
did lose quite a bit of poundage with that factory string, but I'm hoping that I'm not some weird spot on the draw cycle where
I gotcha.
Yeah, where maybe, because I don't know about you, but like when I bought my bow, I shot the entire line, like the PSE, the Mach 34s, and the Bowtechs, and all the Matthew stuff. The Hoyts, it was the VTM at the time, and the RX-7. And depending on the configuration of that bow, I was at different points in that draw cycle where I would get a hump where I feel very comfortable, and it was very pronounced. Like I would wonder. I'm wondering if because those cables are a little shorter potentially because they're not stretched out, that if that's changed the dynamic of my draw,
it'd be interesting. I'd also be curious on some of the ones that you tested out. Like I tested out like 10, 12 bows as well with mine. And mine, for my draw length, I'm never at 28.5. I'm never at the very top end of a cam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still got some room to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we're growing other ways. We're not getting taller and arms longer,
But it makes me wonder.
A little bigger. That's about it. That's the only growing that we can do.
Yeah.
The rest it's going to be shrinking. So we're into the shrinking phase.
Oh man. Yeah, I am shrinking actually in height. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder too, because we've talked to different bow manufacturers and their cams, like where their max is for their
Yeah.
draw length and everything. And then it's like, okay, so it is nice if you can be at more of the top end of those um, charts, if you want to call it that, because
Yeah.
now you're maxing out the potential. But then that makes me wonder too if, well, with your monkey arms there, are you at like the max of
Yeah.
those things? And then it's like any little thing that's off kind of puts you, instead of sinking into that valley a
Yeah.
little bit more, you're like you say, you're kind of in there. I think we've talked about it a few times that, some manufacturers, just the design of their cam that year, give you
Yeah.
a
Hoyts
little
are
extra
especially
length in
like
there.
that. Hoyts are they like it's significant. They are really susceptible to that. You want to be at the top of their mods if you can,
Yeah.
just to get the maximum performance. And now they have like a full mod. It's different now again, but yeah, this is I'm on a mod 2 and I'm right at the top. And I had found that even with like the VTM and even the newer stuff, where if I'm not at the top of that cam, that hump at the back it's pronounced. It's to the
Oh,
point where
okay.
it like shut my bow arm can shudder a bit
Yeah.
versus like this one, it's like same thing with the new lift axis. There's no hump. It's like I'm there and I'm solid.
Oh,
So I and but but the Hoyt, like the older stuff, VTMs and stuff like that, I'd pull back and I feel like it's just off. It's just not optimized for my draw length. Because I'm either at the top end or the low end. On that one, I had to be at the very bottom of a mod 3 in the VTM because the mod 2 was maxing out, I think, at 29 inches. Um, so I'm at, the 30 and a half, 30
yeah.
on the bow, and then I use the D loop to extend it a little.
Yeah.
But I have been thinking that I'm compressed even now. I think, and like half an inch is quite a bit of distance, but in a Matthews, I can shoot a 31, like
That's
all the
funny
way up
how
to
that
like,
works.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's a grip. I think it's how that the
Oh,
grip dynamic is. I think that's for me, that's what it is.
yeah.
Just how where my hand is bulky because in a Matthews, like in the past, the Matthews bows that I've had, I shot 31,
Yeah.
31 and a half. Like in my PSE, I was 31 and a half. And yes, I was
Interesting.
a little extended, but in my old PSE, it was a 90-pound bow. So,
That's,
like
yeah.
you would have to be solid. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be able to shoot. But um, I feel like now that I got that new strand, I might be a little bit compressed. I was talking to Kevin about it. Might be a bit compressed. That might be fatiguing me. So it feels like I'm not at my strongest point with my shoulder fully extended. Maybe I'm
Af-
compressed.
After our hunt, I mentioned you don't want to screw around with it too much right now, but after our hunt, have you ever thought of maybe untwisting your cables just to
Hmm.
try it, just to see how it feels, just a turn or two, just to see if
Yeah.
it gives you just a little bit. It'd just be interesting to know if that changed the feel of it. I mean, you don't want to do too much because you don't want to wreck your tune, but
It's very firm.
very,
Now, right now, it's firm.
yeah,
Like it's firm. Back wall is firm. Everything is very tight. Like I feel fast,
gotcha.
and it feels very like turbo, like my turbo. As soon as and it doesn't bother me because it like 85% let off is nothing. Because that other thing is 70, so you're holding 20 pounds almost on that one. Or it's like, I think it's 18 or 20.
Yeah,
Um, so it feel like I'm familiar with it, but that style of bow, you don't want that.
yeah,
Like it's a big bow, it's an ultra. Like I want it to be comfortable to shoot because that's the whole point of why I got that. It's not a speed bow.
yeah.
So I don't want to give up speed for the design and it's not even comfortable. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I wonder if my draw length is a little too short for me right now. And that's making it feel a little uncomfortable.
How's your
But
string angle being maxed out on your face. Is it working for you still, or does it feel
Yeah.
off a bit, or it still
Yeah,
feels good?
like it always is when I do a string change. It's a little off, like a
Yeah.
little. Um, and then you just kind of work with it. I find like it's not usually like perfect because those factory strings, like they're stretched to shit.
Yeah.
Like going from 74, 75 pounds, now I'm at 69. Because I had noticed that at 100 yards, I just see my arrows are just planing low all the time. So I adjusted everything. Um, but again, I think that's what's going on. I need to shoot it a bunch more because I haven't shot it very much. So I got to shoot it a ton. Like normally when I be at like, because I went with Jordan did the tune on my bow and all that with me. Um, but we're not shooting at a range, right?
Yeah.
Versus like when I've went to Jim Bows, like I put 200 plus arrows down range before I
Yeah.
leave because I don't want to leave, right? But you can't do that when you're at somebody's place, right? In their house.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put 200 down in their basement. Just like, yeah, go hang out with your wife and kids. I'm gonna be down here for a while. It's just like this. Yeah,
Oh, I hear
everything's
you.
shooting great.
That's good.
I think it's just it could be just the material too, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just it's tight and maybe I just have to get a little bit more strength in the right spots. But I'm shooting lights out. Like
That's awesome.
I'll send you a picture. Like I shot my last group after I sighted in, shot like that with broadheads. So at
Nice.
60, I
That's
mean,
nice.
yeah, it's shooting great. Shot a group probably about that big at 100. It's just it is feeling a little bit different. I
Yeah.
think ultimately too, and I was talking with Kevin about this as well, and he had warned me uh to get rid of my slow, like pause low problem, my hourglass pause low
Yeah.
problem. I'm probably gonna have to get a back bar.
Oh yeah.
But he said once you shoot it with a back bar, it's
Oh,
over. You're always gonna be shooting with a back bar. You'll
oh yeah.
never
Even
not be able to shoot with a back
even the changing. So here's something from today. And it wasn't my back bar. It was my front bar because I took everything off and put on my hunting bow, but I wanted to go in the backyard today. And I was like, no, I just want to pull out the bow tech. So I
Yeah.
put the bars on the other one. And I was looking at it, it's like, I can't remember if I put my 8-inch on the upper hole or the lower hole.
Yep.
Whatever. It's like I can takes 2 seconds to swap them. Put the 8-inch on the top hole and just my little stubby on the bottom. And I was like, fuck, I'm shooting low, like all in a group. Like, what's going on? I wonder if I got these in the wrong spot. I took my stabilizers,
Yeah.
swapped them on the front, just because everything's been tuned for a certain balance. I just forgot which place they went. Boom, X. And I was like, huh, well, guess I'm going to have to remember that before I shoot somewhere in a competition, make sure they're on, they'll be on properly. And next year I plan on getting another set so that I never have to take them off. What bow has what on it stays on it. But right now it's just I've invested a lot this year, so it's not a big deal just to swap bars from one bow to the other. It takes 2 seconds. But yeah, crazy the difference in just the balancing once you have it set and you put it in a different spot, how off you can get. But the back bar was a huge change this year. Huge change for the positive.
Like even with my quiver, like so
Yes.
I was shooting without a quiver, and I was shooting okay. I put that quiver on. I turned into a fucking beast because I'm so used to that weight.
Just the way it is.
It makes me so much more solid for whatever reason because it's not a back bar, but it is creating weight. I don't know if it's because I have my bow where I have to counterbalance it in a little bit. I like having so. This is something I've noticed. I don't know if you get like in the target world have noticed this, but I don't like I like my bow to be close to balance, not completely. And I'm a right-hand shooter, so I like to have where I'm turning it to the left because that's strong for me.
Yeah.
So I don't like to be tippy.
Gotcha.
And in the wind, I've noticed if I had it perfectly balanced, I'm a little bit tippy.
Yeah.
So I like it to where I am almost biased slightly, so I have muscle engagement to slightly level a little so that I hold. In the wind, that's helped me because in the wind, then I already have biased towards holding it level versus I'm tipping lots and then that wind is really affecting me. And it's very small. It's just enough to where like I'm not having to work to put it in level, but it's so close that me holding it in position, I already have a little muscle tension. And that's helped me to fight the wind because the wind is so critical in my area. Like everything I do is all about wind. That's just it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Really weird.
Once you get that back bar on, you're going to notice that how micro adjustable you're going to get it. I've got mine set right now. So it's pretty damn close to level every time.
Yeah.
I don't have winds like you on the average day. Yes, we have lots of wind, but not like you where you are. There's no comparison. But that back bar, being able to, do your left to right and be able to adjust it up and down, man, you just got to shoot. And it is crazy how much you can adjust those, especially if you get a good back bar mount.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world into how tight you can get that thing just dialed in for whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
It was a major difference in my shooting this year, in my holding and aiming, I should say, not in my shooting. It just made everything more enjoyable because it just sat where it was supposed to. There was less of me having to correct things. It was always virtually bang on for the most part anyway. That's the part I like the most.
I just don't want to do it because I'm sensitive to weight. Because the amount I'm hiking, I don't want to go down that path. Like I've shot elk without any stabilizer.
Yeah.
I did that for a few years where I didn't have any stabilizers, nothing, just riser, and I shoot elk because I didn't want it hanging up on stuff and just the weight, packability. I never had any issues, and then and the stabilizer was getting longer and longer to help because you are more accurate. But the shots I was taking were always sub 40 yards, right? I'm not a guy to push it really 60, 70 yards, but the areas where I've been hunting, that is becoming more and more evident that I am going to be getting shot opportunities at 70 to 80, and you are going to need that stabilization to make those shots. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So I might dabble into that here after a bear hunt. Like obviously there's not enough time to really
and you don't
do any
want
drastic changes.
I totally get, like, I've only got an 8-inch back bar and an 8-inch front bar. That's all I run. I don't know that I'll go that much longer. I can only, and with my other bow that's set up there, I can only go 12 inches total. So even if I get like one of those 10-degree down angles, I'd still have to go to a 10-inch bar to allow for the distance of that down angle for the front stabilizer there. So I'd have to really be cognizant as to how big those are because you don't want to be over 12 inches. But with the 8-inch bar, I don't think I'd want to go any farther because I think it would get hung up on clothes and stuff like that if I was walking. I think it would get, I'm sure there's lots of people that'll tell me different, but I don't know. Just for me and where I am, I think 8 is pretty much maxed for my hunting bow, what I'll take it in, all the thick shit. So
like I literally had one shot opportunity on a bull where if I had a longer bar, it wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah.
Because I had a tree for cover and I thought he was going to come in on the right and he didn't. He came on my left and the tree was right on my shoulder on the left. And because of that, when he came in, I wasn't quite sure because the way he was coming in, it was just a little bit of a weird angle. And I had to draw back and I'm right tied up on the tree. And I had to come up like this, full draw, and shoot him.
Gotcha.
And if I had a longer bar, not even possible. There's no way. And even if I had my turbo, that wouldn't have been possible either because of the way that that bow is. I had
Yeah.
to draw back, and I thought he was going to come across me, and he didn't. He came to my left, and I have a tree, big tree, big black spruce tree to my left. I'm like, shit. And we're like close.
Yeah.
Come up and come all the way over, and then shot him at 40 yards. And
Yeah.
it's like, what do you do, right? Like you can't predict everything that you're going to see out there. But that's the thing, though. It's like now that when something like that happens to you, now it's always in my head, like, oh shit. Now I don't want those big bars, like a 15-inch bar. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So be honest about where you're going to hunt. Be
Yeah.
honest with yourself. Yes, they make you more accurate, or they can make you more accurate. Yes, they're great for a lot of things. And yes, some of your friends, like Kevin, might be able to use them and utilize them
Yeah.
in their specific areas, but it's possible you might not. It might be more of a
Yeah.
hindrance. Potentially. I'm not going to say it is.
Yeah.
Just depends on where you are and what you hunt. You
And
have to
yeah,
figure that
and
out.
like what you're doing, like my one buddy, like his quiver is off immediately. As soon as he goes on a stalk, it's off. Like
Really?
you're not, I'm like, that's different, right? Because he's always mule deer, mule deer, mule deer. And I said, I'm like, you know, don't do that with elk. Like, you can, but like I've had that where, I got a lot of buddies that do that, where
Oh man.
they hunt mule deer solely and they get their quivers off immediately, whether they're running the equivalizer or like the I think
To me,
one was running the knock on
oh yeah, yeah.
brand, and they get that off and they either just put it down and then they do their stock. Like, don't be doing that with elk. You need those arrows.
I wouldn't do it with anything because what if something happened? What if something stupid happened and you needed a second arrow?
I don't know, man, but
And now you're looking
so
back at your quiver, you're gonna regret that.
yeah, so you got to make sure that you understand like what their style is before you take advice. Like if you're adopting their style, yeah, but like that's not my style. Like with elk, it is front. I have had some encounters where from the time I had my first encounter trying to get that bull to come in to where I killed them was like kilometers. Like,
Yeah.
like I had one where I dogged this bull. He spotted me, like some movement. He was super steep uphill. I didn't take the shot. I could have killed him right there. It's 40 yards. I just didn't like the undergrowth, the sticks and shit. I didn't like it. So I was full draw. I could have pushed the limits but he was moving too much too. And I didn't like that either. You know how it is. It's like
Yeah.
you don't get a hit on the vitals. I'm not shooting that bull. That's all there is to it. Like if there's even a chance where something weird could happen, no, not good enough. Not going to wound a bull in plus 25 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Hell no. So keep calling at him. He goes up a ridge. By the time I got on him, it's ridge. And then I'm like, I'm in a completely different area hunting it now. Like it's still the same zone, but it's like, you have your core valleys and big draws. I'm like, I'm 2 valleys over now. Like I'm not going back. I can't. So that's always on my mind. Like when stuff, or you shoot a ball, having a double back, grab your shit. I think there's a very mule deer style
Yeah.
thing. So those guys I've noticed typically have longer stabilizers. They like that because it's stability.
Probably
And they
helps in that wind too.
Yeah, and they have the time and they're not like moving dynamically as much.
Yeah.
So that's where my head's at. So guys, filter that through what we're saying. Like for me, I'm like an aggressive movement guy. So when I'm trying to force a situation with an elk, like I'll just like force it. Like I'll sprint up and arrow them. Or I've had one where I drew back and I just started walking to them. I had that once on a bull in a mountain zone where I had my kids with me even. I buelled him into 30 yards and there was no shot. Put himself right in the middle of a bush. And it was like, well, he's going to bust us in probably 5 to 10 minutes. We're just like, the wind's going to change and we're done. So I'm gonna force the situation. I'm just gonna get super aggressive. I remember I drew back and I looked at the ground and I walked as he's bugling and I forced that situation. And I'm like, okay, this is it. And I just popped around a corner and put an arrow on him. Just kept walking until I could kind of see his vitals. And then that's how I got that situation. I don't know if I could do that with a bigger profile. Because again, you're in sticks. You could hit stuff. You know, it's just a different mentality, right?
Yeah.
So
No, I hear you there.
So I might dabble with like a 12. I'm thinking a 12-inch stabilizer with a 8-inch back bar. Like I think I might just order a Quattro Hunter's kit.
Yeah.
They're freaking expensive though. I think they're like 380, 300
For
bucks.
everything. Yeah.
My goodness, carbon is expensive. Or I might get a kickstand as well. I think that's going to be my next Father's Day gift. Usually every Father's Day, my wife gets me arrows or gets me a string cable set.
good.
So that's a pretty good way of doing it. I
think
recommend
so.
guys get a new string every year, or if you're shooting it out sooner than that. But the average guy every year.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be doing here is just dabbling a little bit into that once we're done our hunt, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Same with me. I'm not going to push my limits. I'm happy where it is. Just going to check some stuff out. We're going to go shoot some bears. We're going to have a great time.
Yep.
Super stoked on this trip.
Yeah, you're going to hear that whack, and you're going to be
Hear that
addicted,
whack.
and you're going to do whatever it takes to hear that whack again.
Yeah.
That's how it is for me. It's like, like I feel like on one end I'm like a very conservative guy, but with archery I'm like the hippy dippy. Like it's almost like artistic. Like it's a Zen moment. It's like martial arts. It's like spiritual almost. Like to get all the things you need to do to execute a shot perfectly. There's an art to it. There's a process. When you have an animal in front of you, it's not you're not like staying like mentally staying calm, staying in the shot. I actually it's funny. I shoot better on animals than I do at the range because I am so conscious of my heightened awareness of like everything going on. So to calm myself down, I'll always shoot in a normal exhale. Like I'll get my breathing into patterning where it's like forced.
Yeah.
To control my mind on my breathing, like because then I know I can like figure out my shot bounce as well. And I'll do that with rifles too, because you can get amped up. Like I had one time, I got the crate, and I'm usually really calm. And I'd been looking at 180 deer, and I didn't get buck fever. Then the scabby, not little, but 160 is in front of me sleeping. And all of a sudden my heart rate just starts. And I'm like, I'm not even planning on shooting this buck. I just want to see him. And it's just like this adrenaline dump out of nowhere. And it's like, oh, it's still there. There's still something there. Because I didn't even get that when I drew back on a 200-inch deer. I was calm, completely calm. But so you have to but it's because I was doing something different. Because I wasn't that concerned about this deer.
Yeah.
So I didn't control my breathing. I didn't calm myself down before. That's actually why I like elk, to be honest, because the jitters are gone. That's why I like calling them.
Yeah.
Because I can hear them coming in. And by the time you have the encounter, you're way down here. You're like,
that's what I feel too.
Yeah.
It's even though I haven't shot one yet, I've been full draw. I've had the whole 9 yards. And that's what I find. The excitement is as they're coming in.
yeah.
Once I see fur, it's dead calm. It's like business time. It's like the excitement was that whole battle getting to that point.
Yeah.
And I don't get shaky at that point. Even at full draw, the heart's pumping up till then. And then it's like,
gives you
no
your endocrine and your nervous system time to digest what's going on, calm down, and start. And that's why I like to like elk, because it's like highly movement related, right? Like you're calling, you're moving, you're doing stuff. So it calms me down because I'm thinking about, I start thinking again, right? Not just reacting.
We're
to
gonna see
that
how you're
moment.
gonna react then
Yeah,
in a
I'll
tree
be
step.
I'll be calm. I'll be calm. Bears, I'm always calm.
Yeah,
I got no skin in the game. I'm an
yeah,
antler dude.
yeah.
I'm an antler junkie. I'm addicted to antlers.
It's fair
With
enough.
bears and stuff, it's like it's awesome, but I'm like, no, I can say no more. With elk, I'm like, I have this voice of my father in my ear. Shoot, shoot from a kid. Like that's what my like. Oh, that's a good. I've been in the crosshairs so many times on deer where I've shot some good whitetail, but it's so funny because like my dad is still in my head where he's like, Derek, that's a good deer. Get on that deer, Derek. He's gonna run. And I'm always thinking about that. It's playing in my head. I'm like, you got to do it right now. So that's why I don't hesitate. Is just
Yeah,
I got this other thing going on. It's like, yeah, you got to do this. If you hesitate, you'll lose the shot. Like you got to get her done. Like push up, get it done.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
So with bears, when it's like I was talking to Kevin, he's like, oh yeah, you'll be like watching them for minutes. I'm like, what are you talking about? Minutes? Because even like when I encounter bears, it's I'm usually calling them in with
Yeah,
cow calf call, and like they're not coming into bait. They smell a human. They're out of there.
yeah,
So this is gonna be a blast. I was talking with Landon about it, and he said it's like you work hard to hunt easy. Like
yeah.
it's
That's a good way
the
to put it.
work, the bait is the work. You
Yeah,
work super hard to hunt easy. And the hunt easy part can be challenging because of the fatigue of running baits and getting up
yeah,
early and doing what you need to do, and you're sleep deprived, and you have to continually be running these runs of baits and doing everything you need to do to keep the bears there on this pattern before those, because you don't want them to bump, because then you need to know, okay, well, this bear's been hitting this bait. You don't want to change that pattern
yeah,
so that someone can do a sit, right? um, I got some expectations of myself for a certain level of bear. I want to shoot at least like a 5 to 6 footer. Maybe if we can get into like the 19-inch skulls. I'm not super picky when it comes to this stuff.
yeah,
That 350 and up.
yeah,
Just a good mature bear. But that being said, like I told Kevin, I like the weird shit.
yeah,
I want like a black faced bear. Like I like that look. Not the stereotypical look or, a cinnamon. Yes, but that's less likely, but I just like unique things. So if I see something unique on a bear, that's what I'm gonna go for. Like, or big diamond,
yeah.
white patches, stuff, something unique, and in a good mature boar. Uh, I think it might take some discipline from you and I, because I
Hey,
know we're
man.
both going to be a little trigger happy because for me,
Well,
I don't
yeah,
have that many encounters, right? It's not like that. Like for bears, couple encounters. Well, some areas it's worse than others, but uh, it's not like you have choices here. This is going to be weird. You have choices. So
well,
Kevin was like, I hope he doesn't shoot the first bear that comes in
well, I told him I
first
would.
night.
I had a talk with him about that. I'm coming away with a bear because this is going
Yeah.
to be my first archery kill, which I think is awesome that it's going to be on
Yeah.
film. Because I don't care. I'm sorry, it's not for the rest of all you listeners or watchers or whoever's going to watch Kevin's film. I don't, whatever. It's like a big photo album for me. It's going to be, the whole trip is going to be memorable, but to have
Yeah.
that on film, that's for me. And, to share it with you guys is going to be epic. But I did tell him I'm not looking at, that 100-pound bear. I'm looking for a mature boar, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm not holding out for, that 500-pounder. I don't,
No. And I'm not picky
I'm not
either.
there.
Like
I'm coming
mature
home with
boar.
some meat
Yep.
and a lot of great memories. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, exactly. I think more than anything, the biggest challenge, it's not going to be the bears, it's not going to be the bait, it's going to be the freaking bugs.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
going to be the bugs, man. It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to be bringing lots of Thermacell fluid and
Yeah, me too.
probably some spray for the ticks and stuff just to help.
Yeah.
I know it won't solve it, but it'll help.
I
We'll
would
see.
treat early with like a permethrin treatment. That's what I'm gonna do on at least my pants.
Okay.
And then
Just like a deep woods off kind of deal, like for ticks, like that kind of.
it's an actual treatment. Like you put it on it and you let it dry.
Where do you get that?
You can buy it in any like mountain style
Okay.
warehouse. There's some are better than others, but you just spray it on and you got to treat it though before you go out and you let it completely dry off and it's
Okay.
scentless. But it's like those garments, like even with like Sitka, I think it's
Okay.
the First Light as well, I think has it. And
Okay.
then the Elimintic as well.
Well,
It's embedded within the garment.
maybe we'll chat this week as to
Yeah.
some different kinds as I'm coming to Calgary. Maybe I can find some there. I don't have any selection of anything here.
Yeah.
Um,
Talking with Landon though, it's not so much walking in and in the stands, it's when you get a kill.
oh, because
It's
they're on the bears and
retrieval.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
It's retrieval, right? And even my like I was talking with my dad about this. My dad has killed like 10 to 15 bears. I don't even know how many bears he's killed.
Yeah.
But he said that the biggest thing they did, and they did it because they were always packing with horses all the time because they didn't want ticks all over the horses because they're going to get you for sure,
Yeah.
is to just raid the living shit out of them. They always had cans of raid with them,
Yeah.
and they would just hit them with raid, and then the ticks just die instantly instead of dealing with that. Like, obviously, if we can get on the kill early enough, an hour or 2 hours, the ticks will start crawling off them,
Yeah.
and then they'll be all over the place. But if we get on the bear within a reasonable amount of time, within about an hour and a half after it expires, just having a can of raid with you, and you just
Yeah.
raid them down, and then that's like 3/4 of them are gone, right?
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I'm gonna get my CID number, I think tomorrow. We can start on that process and just get
Yeah.
everything prepped paperwork wise and tag wise and just make sure everything's nice, easy transition going over there.
Yeah, let me know what you're doing because I
Yeah,
haven't
we'll
looked
talk
into any of
after.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
we'll
sure.
talk after. Um, sounds like a good spot to end
Yeah,
here.
I
I don't
think
know if
so.
we'll have the way things have been going. I don't know if we're gonna have time for another show before we go. Hopefully, but I know we're all trying to get stuff done before this trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I
gonna be
have a
fun.
couple scheduled out. I've been kind of trying to get a backlog of them so that we'll push this show out,
Yeah,
and then hopefully there's a smooth transition so you guys aren't waiting too long.
be awesome.
Yeah, because we'll be gone for an entire week, so
Yeah,
yeah, it'll be good. Looking forward to it, buddy.
you
Can't wait.
betcha.
Yeah, and to hang out with you guys, not just the hunt,
Oh,
just
yeah. Well, that's gonna be the best
no,
part.
we're in the virtual world. Our friendships are in the virtual world. It's
We only
it's
get to
tough
see each
actually
other a
get
couple
FaceTime.
times a year, or
Yeah,
maybe once a
exactly.
year or something. So
Yeah,
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 it's
man.
nice.
Looking forward to it. Nice forged hat too.
Oh, dude. Okay, we got to give a shout out. Jay Nickel,
Yep.
Mindful Hunter. He brought us some hats for the shoot. Now, this isn't a shameful plug because if there's one thing I am, it's a hat connoisseur. This shit is probably one of the most, no, it is the most comfortable hat I have ever worn. He custom ordered it for like even the material and stuff. I'm pretty sure you got one back there too.
Yep.
And I believe he said it's waterproof. That I don't even care about that. It's second to none. I haven't had a hat this comfortable in a long time. Yeah. If I
Yeah,
were
big
you
shout
guys,
out to Jay because
oh
he has
man,
a lot of stuff going on. Definitely worth having a look at his stuff. He's
yeah,
got like undergarments, base layers, a whole number of uh just apparel in general to look
yeah.
at, not just
Check
hats.
it out. I
Check
thought it
it
was
out.
just a regular Joe Blow hat, which I love hats. I always love hats. Get one. You will
Very
not
specific with
regret it.
hats,
Oh
personally.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if I find a hat that fits me right, like I'm ordering a ton of them because some Richardson hats don't quite fit me right or they're too
Yeah.
tight and it really bothers me. But I'm definitely loving the new apparel that he has and definitely
good
love
stuff.
supporting a local guy, a Canadian guy that's trying
Absolutely.
to, find some solutions to gear. And he's a gear junkie. Like the guy, he knows more about gear than I think anybody.
He tears apart everything.
Oh yeah.
It gives you
Love
an
it.
honest review. It's
I
great.
love
It's what
it
we need.
because you only have so much time. You need
Yeah.
someone like him digging into the weeds, go on his YouTube, check out all of his stuff, go into his YouTube and check out the comparisons if you're looking at gear and like say, for instance, binoculars versus each other, rangefinders, you name it.
Yeah.
He's a good one-stop shop. Just, hey, I want the gritty, what is the points, the data points, what matters, what doesn't. You can get it done in a
Giving
couple
you
of
the
minutes.
no bullshit review.
Yeah, no bullshit. He's not sponsored by anybody. He's just gonna, and there's nuance to that too. But I think it's a pretty safe place to get some pretty honest information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check him out.
Yeah.
And big shout out to Onyx. Everyone getting out into the backwoods and making hunting plans, making hunt plans, and Treeline Academy as well. Going out there e-scouting. Definitely start building those plans now. Start building your plan for where you're going to hunt and add some new areas. Use these apps and you won't be disappointed. You're going to have a plan going into the year, definitely tipping the odds into your favor to being successful with your harvest.
It's going to come sooner than you think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Have a good
guys.
night, guys.